Hello, I am Shauna the Lore Hunter, and in this video I am talking about the upcoming action-adventure game Ghost of Tsushima by Sucker Punch Productions. If you're like me, you've known about Ghost of Tsushima since it was first announced over 2 years ago, thought it looked gorgeous, and that's about it. And then with the recent trailer in December 2019 at the Game Awards, you find yourself asking, what the heck is this game about? Well friend, today is your lucky day because I've scoured the internet and found out what the heck it is about. In this video, I'll first talk about the game's development and Sucker Punch's stated design aspirations for the game, and then I will discuss all of the details about the story, world, gameplay, and mechanics that have been revealed about Ghost of Tsushima so far. Let's get into it. Ghost of Tsushima began development in 2014 after Sucker Punch finished production on infamous Second Son. For their next project, Sucker Punch wanted to develop a game with a clear fantasy for the player to engage with, where to hear about it is to want to play it, according to creative director Nate Fox. This guiding principle resulted in Ghost of Tsushima. Fox stated, "Who doesn't want to go to feudal Japan? Who doesn't want to be a samurai with a katana on their hip?" After settling on the concept of the samurai fantasy, Sucker Punch wanted to ground the game in a historical setting and location. Through research, they chose the invasion of Tsushima Island by the Mongols in 1274. Fox explained that, "We picked this historical period because it provides a great conflict that's easy for people to immediately conceptualize. The fantasy is that you're a samurai, the conflict is this foreign invasion, and the stakes were very real. The Mongols were the most advanced military in the world at that point. The Japanese had never seen gunpowder, bombs, or rockets." Sucker Punch, being a Seattle-based developer, worked closely with members of Sony Japan and other Japanese consultants to help us make a game that respects this culture and this time and place to get the details right, explained Sucker Punch co-founder Chris Zimmerman. And to make the setting as authentic as possible, Sucker Punch made multiple trips to the island of Tsushima to study the geography and flora. Another core tenet at the heart of Ghost of Tsushima's design was to capture the natural beauty of Japan. Fox explained that, "One of the things that we're really passionate about in this game is trying to capture the sublime beauty of nature. I think this is quintessential to the samurai genre, from fields of grass or forests of bamboo waving in the wind, to the proud samurai standing still in the middle of it." Zimmerman echoed this sentiment, stating that, "Obviously the Kurosawa films were big influences for us, and one of the influences that you can really see shine through is the amount of movement you see." Another way in which Sucker Punch is capturing the natural beauty of Japan is through the visual impact of simplicity. Art director Jason Connell stated, "It's very easy to just add more stuff in. Our goal with the art direction for the game and environments is to be minimal in a way so that it's more lasting and you remember it." Connell described how this was implemented in the E3 2018 gameplay trailer. If you watch the demo, the Pampas Valley that you see, it's not the Pampas Valley with tons of trees and leaves and lots of other things. Or at the end of the trailer with the red leaves. It was very intentional to be minimal. To sum up what Sucker Punch is working to achieve with Ghost of Tsushima, a game that encapsulates the samurai fantasy set in a grounded and authentic feeling historical Japan. I personally think this feels like a good approach for a Western studio in making a game about Japan. Sucker Punch is leaning into the fantasy of the samurai as mythologized by other creative works like the Kurosawa films, but they are presenting Japanese culture in a representational way. Nate Fox explains that, "We actually thought about using some historical figures, and we asked some people who are more culturally aware than us, and they said that it would be insensitive, so we didn't do it." This approach feels tourist-friendly for people like myself, who don't know much about Japanese history and culture, which seems to be a goal for Sucker Punch. Fox says, "We're trying hard to transport people to 1274 Japan." Sucker Punch recognized themselves as tourists as well. Zimmerman explains, "I mean, this was actually the thing that's exciting for us as creators, especially for people that are super fascinated with Japanese culture like me, Nate Fox, our game director, and a lot of other people on the team. This is an excuse to spend years learning more and more." And with that, let's learn more about the story of Ghost of Tsushima. In the late 13th century, the Mongol Empire has laid waste to entire nations along their campaign to conquer the East. Tsushima Island is all that stands between mainland Japan and a massive Mongol invasion fleet led by the ruthless and cunning general Khotan Khan. As the island burns in the wake of the first wave of the Mongol assault, Samurai warrior Jin Sakai stands as one of the last surviving members of his clan. He is resolved to do whatever it takes, at any cost, to protect his people and reclaim his home. He must set aside the traditions that have shaped him as a warrior to forge a new path, the path of the ghost, and wage an unconventional war for the freedom of Tsushima. That is the official story setup from the Ghost of Tsushima website. This is based on the first Mongol invasion in 1274, where on October 5th, over 1,000 Mongols landed on Komadahama Beach on Tsushima Island. The island's governor and 80 soldiers defended the island on the beach, but were overwhelmed by the invading force. After conquering Tsushima, the Mongols assaulted the island of Kyushu, where they were pushed back by the samurai clans of that island and forced to withdraw their fleets. During this retreat, a kamikaze, or divine wind, caused much of the fleet to sink as a typhoon swept through the region, effectively ending the invasion. Jin Sakai is a fictional character, but Sucker Punch acknowledges the historical invasion and how they're altering history for the narrative of the game. The original invasion was foiled by a kamikaze, or divine wind. The Mongol boats were sunk by a hurricane. Our hero isn't a hurricane, he's a man, and we actually acknowledge that change with his sword that's engraved with storm wind designs. Jin is one of the few samurai who survived this assault on Tsushima, and takes on the mantle of the ghost in his quest to liberate the island from Mongol control, and becomes the historical divine wind that pushed the Mongols back. Zimmerman explained that Jin sees that every one of the samurai he's looked up to and have taught him how to be a samurai, they held fast to the samurai ethos and they all died. And now he's in this horrible position where he can do what they've done, he can stay who he is and die, and the Mongols will take over the island. Or he can sacrifice his whole identity to become something more, and that's the story of the game. This theme seems ripe to explore narratively and mechanically. Zimmerman stated, "If you're going to have a game with a historical setting, there has to be something relatable at the heart of it. There has to be something universal in the story, and that for me is the emotional heart of the game. This transformation he has to go through, to let go of what you've always been and what you've always believed to become something new. And we can all relate to that, I think." One point of discussion I've seen come up is if there will be any supernatural elements to the story. Fox stated, "This is a game that is entirely grounded in reality. We're trying hard to transport people to 1274 Japan." This quote is used to definitively argue that there will be no supernatural elements to the game, and I basically agree. What Sucker Punch has said about the game expresses a desire to recreate feudal Japan and live out the samurai fantasy. However, the fantasy element of samurai fantasy cannot be totally overlooked. Or the second half of Fox's quote. "We're inspired by history, but we're not building it back stone by stone. We're not trying to rebuild Tsushima Island. Our protagonist is a work of fiction." Jin and his role as the ghost exist as the element that alters history, in which he becomes the symbolic hurricane that defeats the Mongols, and he is our vehicle through which we live out the myth of the wandering samurai. Now, I'm not saying this means he will be supernatural, I'm just saying if there is any supernatural element to the game, I think it would be focused around our protagonist, and it would be limited, but that to set expectations as such that there could be some minor supernatural elements to the story. A core difference between the narratives of The Ghost of Tsushima and the infamous series also made by Sucker Punch is that The Ghost of Tsushima is telling a fixed story. The side mission showed off in the E3 2018 gameplay trailer focused on Jin looking to save a monk named Ippei, who is being hunted by the Mongols. Masako, a fellow samurai, is looking for the monk but to enact revenge. The story culminates in this gorgeous duel. Fox explained, "This mission, shown with Jin facing off against Masako, will always end with him trying to get her to focus back on the Mongols. This is a story about real people trying to survive the brutality of this invasion. So we're trying to tell that through a fixed narrative. We even look at the side quests as an anthology." Zimmerman added, "If you can think of something that you'd want to be able to do as a samurai, I guarantee you that we've tried to figure out how to fit it into the game." So the main narrative of the game will focus on Jin adapting and overcoming the invading Mongols, and the side missions will function as an anthology meant to further explore feudal Japan and fulfill the samurai fantasy. It makes sense to me to utilize fixed narratives for these purposes, and while I like player choice in narratives, I like how focused their narrative goals seem. Let's talk about where Ghost of Tsushima is focusing their player expression, the gameplay and mechanics. Ghost of Tsushima is a third-person action-adventure game. Sucker Punch has only shown off gameplay once, and that was in their E3 2018 demo trailer. The trailer was more of a proof of concept than anything else. It did not feature UI elements or menus, and the combat that was shown was given something of a cinematic overhaul. However, it did reveal a variety of traversal options: travel on horseback, as seen in the Pampas Valley, a grappling hook, and climbing, as shown on the side mission to rescue the monk. Fox stated, "The ability to climb fences and use grappling hooks, as shown off in the demo, is a powerful promise about the navigational freedom we're trying to achieve. We create games with lots of navigational empowerment at Sucker Punch, and we're still trying to figure out how to carry that forward here." The demo also showed off a day-night cycle and dynamic weather. On the topic of world design, another point of discussion that has come up is the existence of waypoints. Connell stated, "We really want you to have that choice of, hey, that cool bamboo forest over there, I really want to check that out. I want to head in that direction and see what it is. There's no waypoint, there's nothing that says, go here and look at this bamboo forest." This quote resulted in a slew of articles declaring that Ghost of Tsushima has no waypoint. I think that is some clickbait bullshit, honestly. What I think is that Connell is describing the goal of the team to create this interesting anthology of stories, and that to lead the player to these stories organically through compelling visuals and world design, and evoke the fantasy of the wandering samurai. I think it is a stretch to state that the Ghost of Tsushima will not have any waypoints or a map that assists the player in reaching objectives. The truth is that we don't know. Nothing has been shown to confirm or deny this, and that these kind of articles are what set skewed expectations for players for what their experience with the game will be like. So now that my mini rant is over, let's talk about clothes. The demo showed different outfits, which are confirmed to grant both aesthetic and mechanical differences, but it was not confirmed how much choice the player has regarding outfits. There will be character progression in the form of skills and abilities, although the details are unknown. Fox explained that the story of the game is about Jin being forced to change. The game only works if as a player you feel the same. Jin's story and your story are the same story, and combat plays a big part in that. The grappling hook is an example of Jin adapting as the ghost, using stealthy techniques samurai do not typically employ. That does not mean that becoming stealthy will be the only path forward. Discussing the balance of combat versus stealth, Zimmerman explained, "There are people that have a pure samurai style, where you walk into a door and say, 'Come at me.' And we have people that want to play pure ghost, where they don't want anyone to see them around. There are things in the game that happen, situations you find yourself in that are really steering you towards one style or another, but you definitely have a different balance from player to player, so it's really up to you." I'm very interested to see how the theme of change is implemented mechanically while maintaining player expression in both combat and stealth gameplay, as the extent to which this system demands player decision seems to be where the player expression will be primarily focused. Speaking more about combat, Fox described their goal with the combat. "It was important to us that you always felt that you were a couple mistakes away from being dead, that you had to pay attention. You don't feel like a samurai unless you're in danger." Adjustable difficulty settings have been confirmed, so that the player can choose what level of challenge they are looking for. There has only been one detail about the controller mapping revealed, and that is that you swing your katana by pressing square. And that is what we know about Ghost of Tsushima so far. I hope this video has been informative, and has helped to set your expectations about the game. Ghost of Tsushima is slated to release in summer 2020. Personally, I hope to learn more about the combat and progression before release, but honestly, it's a day one pickup for me based on the strength of the art direction alone. If you like this video and would like to stay up to date on the information about Ghost of Tsushima, subscribe and ding to this channel. I also do videos about From Software and the Souls games, and I'm doing a So Far series on Elden Ring as well, and hope to cover even more games in development moving forward. Thanks for watching.